we feel kind of embattled. I mean, we like you say, we can keep our eye on the ball, and we remember that life is a journey, but we feel kind of beat up. You know what I'm saying? So how do we stay refreshed and rejuvenated on this journey if it's going to be a continuous journey?
I find the fire triangle to be a very helpful model for many different situations, and particularly this. That what we're really talking about is how do we keep that inner flame going. And there are three elements in the fire triangle. There's the heat, there's the fuel, and there's the oxygen. And you're not going to have a fire burning unless you have all three, whether it's the fire of the passion of your own life, whether it's an organization, whether it's a nation. And it's incumbent on all of us to have some fire, to have something that sparks us, something that motivates us, something that has a sense of urgency about it that really helps ignite our passion. And then we need the self-care. We need some steadiness. We need some things that are going to be consistent, that don't necessarily have a whole bunch of heat or whatnot going on with it. And we need some oxygen. We need to be able to breathe. We need to be able to have some places of inspiration, some places that feel transcendent, even above the circumstances and conditions in our lives. And I find that when we're feeling burnt out, it's because we're not tending to our inner flame. And there's usually something that we're needing within that triangle. We're needing some heat, we're needing some passion, we're needing some sustainability, or we're needing a bit more transcendence.
What is the heat part of the fire triangle, Deborah? Is it so the fire is the fuel, the self-care and the inspiration is the oxygen. What is the heat?
The heat is whatever it is that really activates you. What gives you a sense of purpose and meaning, a willingness to get up out of bed and to do something with your life. Like I said, it has to have a sense of urgency or at least importance to you, where there's a compelling something that says, I need to move forward here. In organizations, sometimes the heat are the people that we don't like, the ones that are always, pushing the envelope and asking for more, complaining, and sometimes we try to get rid of the heat. In our lives, that heat might even be a disease. It could be cancer or something in our life that has just been like somebody put a match to us, a wake-up call, and we need to get going and we need to get, moving and do something else. So on a long-term basis, you want your heat to be something that can pull you along. But like my mentor, Michael Bernard Beckwith, puts it, pain pushes until vision pulls. Sometimes instead of being vision, sometimes that heat is pain. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate, though, how you put the three elements in a triangle. So basically, if we have one element that's missing, there's no triangle. So, for example, if we don't have self-care, we don't have the oxygen, and we keep putting fuel on the fire, like you say, we just burn out.
Exactly.
We just burn out. I see.
It won't sustain no matter what. If you have all heat, that's the passionate affair that you get involved in because it has no place to go.
Right.
Because it has no fuel, it has no place to sustain. So it's quick rise, but then it's quick die down. And if you have a lot of fuel, but you don't have the heat, well, then you have a nice stockpile of possibilities that nothing happens.
Yes, a big stockpile of possibilities.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Well, I'd say our society, our nation, is kind of going a lot more towards fuel right now, wouldn't you say? I mean, there's not a lot of vision that moves us forward. There's not a lot of self-care to what's happening now in our nation. I mean, care for the citizens, right? not just one party, but care for the citizens. And not to make this a political question, but it sounds like there's a lot more fuel going on, right, in our country right now. And I'm wondering, how does the notions of the cycles of life apply to our current political climate? Because, we go through these cycles, right? We go through this journey. We go through a challenge, and then we have a lesson and growth. We have that cycle. How do we apply the cycles of life to our current political climate?
Well, I think that's a very good question. And there are actually a number of things that come to my mind. One is an understanding of the laws of physics, that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Can't do one thing without there being something that happens on the other end. If we think of a teeter-totter or something, that part of what brings that balance, like one thing goes up, the other one goes down. And we're getting ourselves back into balance, but these huge swings. If you look at our political climate, every 8 years, we go Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. I mean, we've been doing this dance for a number of decades now. And you can't have a swing as far to the left as an Obama with it not giving rise to a Tea Party. It has to be. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is that we need to stop being shocked. We need to stop being surprised and realize that this is the nature of change. If you decide, for example, that you want to be unconditionally loving, guess what? You're going to start running up against all the conditions that you ever put on loving. Life is more like a cha-cha, so to speak. You go a couple up, and then you go back, and you go a couple up, and you go a couple back. And I think that there was a naivety, particularly on the part of progressives, to think that life was linear, that we go from point A to point B to point A, just in this successive way, without realizing, no, that's not exactly what happens here. That there is, you can call it the backlash, you can call it the pushback, but whenever there's big change, you always have to prepare. You always have to prepare for the backlash, whether you're talking about the government or whether you're talking about in your own life. You try to make changes like recovery or, like in your own life. That part of you that wants to be sober, there's going to be a backlash for that part of you that really doesn't want to change. So there's a place, I guess, of compassion, and stop thinking that something's wrong. It doesn't mean it's the highest and the best, but this follows the natural order of how change happens. And I think settling in with that can make us roll up our sleeves and just do what needs to be done without feeling like something is amiss or something is a foul. No, this is just the way that change works. And along that same line, those of us who consider ourselves to be on the more progressive side, to a certain extent, we have ushered this moment in. It's an answered prayer in ways that we're not even seeing. You can't heal what you don't feel. You can't heal what you don't feel. So the only way we could have the self-actualized, transformative, planetary existence that we've all been moving towards means that everything that's unlike that has to come up and be dealt with. So this is it. This is it. Let's get out of denial. Let's get out of denial and just take a look around, take a deep breath, and start using all the things we've been talking about: the compassion, the oneness, the harmony, the sustainability, all of the principles and things that we've said that we believe in. Now's the time to really start using them.
Mm-hmm.
So if we stop feeling like we're the victim of a political landscape that we don't want, and instead think of, wow, this is answered prayer. It's not the answer I exactly was looking for, but I can see how the way to where we want to go means we have to clean up all this other stuff. Because if this crud is in the pipelines here at such a large extent, it's going to get in our way every time.
Yeah.
So we can't get to where we want to go without healing a lot of this stuff that's come up now.
Mm-hmm.
Can't heal what you don't feel.
Right. And we can't heal, when you say we can't heal what we don't feel, that includes what's happening inside ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Whatever muck that brings up.
Yes. And hence my topic here of, here I go again, is that we progress along and we go as far as we can go with wherever it is that we are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes,
you don't learn all the math. You say, well, didn't I have my lessons? Well, yeah, but that was third grade. Okay, now you're in the fifth grade. So there's new math. Well, I thought I forgave. Didn't I do the forget? Yes, you forgave as much as you could when you were that person. But now that you are a more compassionate person, there are even deeper levels for you to go to, like in your forgiveness. But once again, you can't heal what you don't feel. So things get recreated in our lives to an amazing precision, the way that the universe can, like, replicate past traumas so that we appear to be experiencing or going through the very same thing again. It will feel like a loop, but it's really more a spiral. Like we're going upwards. We keep hitting up against some of the same issues, but at another plane. And then the next time that we come up against it, we have an opportunity to apply what we've learned since the last time. So instead of bemoaning, oh, why am I going through this again? Okay, I got this. I got this. This time, there's going to be less drama. This time, I'm going to stand more in my power. This time, I'm going to have breakthroughs, less of the breakdown, until eventually, whatever that is that you were so afraid of doesn't have a psychological hold on you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So these opportunities to do it again are for our benefit.
Yes, I can definitely see that. As long as you recognize that there are layers that we go through. It's not a loop, like you say. It's really a spiral, and we're actually going up, as you say, not down. We're actually going up. Mm-hmm. But what's a practical way to stand in our truth and say, okay, oh gosh, here I go again, and I'm going to know that this is just, a cycle. What's a practical way of sort of allowing ourselves to unpeel that layer, recognize it as a layer, and then take the next step up? How do we do that? I mean, do we journal what lessons we've learned? Do we ask a meditative question and visualize it? Or are there any practical tools that you might recommend to do that?
Yeah, any of the things that you've said are good. What I would say first, if I go back to that triangle, is that each of us has something in our lives that's grounding. For some of it's music, could be dance, could be gardening, could be art, taking walks, playing with the kids. Whatever that is, do it, and do a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Have your life somehow reflect or revolve around this. Not a reward when all of the chores get done. Not something that is sparse on your calendar, like a regular dosage of whatever keeps you centered.
Mm-hmm.
Because each of us has our own thing, I can't say specifically. So for one person, it could be music. For another person, maybe it's silence.
Yes.
For one person, maybe it's being in community. And for somebody else, it's stealing away, and having some good alone time. All I can say is, you know you. You know you.
Right.
And I find the biggest culprit to not being able to get to that place that you're talking about is that we just don't nurture ourselves in the way we need to be nurtured. So we're running on fumes.
So it goes back to that oxygen thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we need to take in oxygen, the self-care.
You need to keep your center. And that's not something that you can do outside of yourself. I hope that everybody's really listening here. We got to stop turning to people, places, and things for our sense of well-being, or groundedness. That this is an inside job. And I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have, how much money you don't have, how big your stature or position may be in society. If you don't allow yourself to have this sense of a center, then you will not experience peace.
Mm-hmm.
Life will feel laborious to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I get that. I really get that.